Hey, it's me, Big P. I wanted to do a quick video going over the progress of the Vaal Blade Flurry Champion. I'm just going to mouse over all of my pieces of gear real quick. I'll have a POB up for the current setup, but we're still on a lot of scuffed gear, like this amulet. My rings aren't amazing. Obviously, a tabula can get a lot better, but it's allowed us to kind of try a couple different things, namely switching from impale to elemental conversion. I think I did both the Black Star and the Infinite Hunger fight, and it was during that Infinite Hunger fight I was feeling like Impale kind of feels a little underwhelming on Blade Flurry, particularly because effectiveness of added damage is basically half here. Now, of course, that's affected by 20% more damage with hits and ailments, but I think a better way to scale when I got my Uber Lab was I went for Inspirational instead of Master of Metal, just because we can fit in some really strong auras like Hatred, and it also boosts things like Precision. And does Blood and Sand count as an aura? No, it counts as a stance, so that's not being affected by the increased effect of non-curse auras from skills, but it also lets us have a no banner reservation, so we fit in a Defiance banner for a little bit more tankiness. And yeah, I think we were able to pick up a Rebuke of the Vaal, a really well rolled one for 5 chaos, I think. Got a slightly better roll in the Perseverance in terms of life. Life pool is still really low, but we're like feeling fine in tier 14s and beyond, even with though we're missing life rolls on like several slots of our gear. Like, I mean, and we went Abyssus, which is more physical damage taken, just because we can get away with it. Champion's feeling pretty sturdy and tanky, even with the skill that stands still and channels. So let's run a Underground Sea right now. Nothing too insane. Poison on hit's a little scary, and less accuracy rating might actually affect our build, but probably not too scary. I'll go over the tree after, because there's a couple of issues I had with the tree that I've kind of solved. And right now we're just looking to push more and more damage. I'm not entirely sure how we're going to do that. Probably... Oh, my friend needs a Zuber lab done. But as you can see, I mean, I don't know. I can't really tell. I think we're going to need to move into some elemental penetration or something like that, because we kind of have a quick and dirty setup for elemental. I just kind of tried it once, and then I was just like, all right, this seems a lot better overall. Ooh, we're lagging a bit there. As you can see, you can kind of tank very effectively during the Vaal Blade Flurry charge up, and it's kind of awesome. And again, we have a lot more armor and evasion that we can build into, perhaps even more max res on a chest piece. We could also fit in a higher level precision with whatchamacallit, a bit more mana reservation on the tree. We'll find it here and there. But yeah, otherwise, I mean, it's seeming so far so good. I want to get into another build real quick, just because as much fun as I'm having, and as much as I would consider this pretty successful league start, we'll say once we get the first 2 watchstones, we don't have those quite yet. It is F tier for the league mechanic. There's just no way, like, people are complaining about their melee builds, their attack builds, being bad for the melee mechanic. What if you had to stand still and channel your attack skill? How about that? Probably should have figured that, when we were going over the league mechanic, and say, hey, you'll have this resource that requires you to dodge the attacks and things like that the monsters in the league mechanic do. I was like, oh, okay. Yeah, I'm going into Breach. I'll go over that after, because that's not really related to the build itself. It might actually not be that good for the build. Let's go while I still have my Shrine Bust, because I feel like we still do have... I mean, Merveil probably has a lot of... cold resistance or something like that. Let's do a quick tap there. Oh, this isn't that bad, actually, for tier 14 map boss. Does it have any? No, they just poison on hit. I did take close combat out of the main links, just because I liked more consistency with my damage. And we actually just got Culling Strike against marked enemies, which I'm liking very much so far. It's just a little bit more in terms of whatchamacallit, you know, cleaning up, because you kind of do end up like right here, just kind of standing next to very scary monsters sometimes. We were able to drop whatchamacallit, Purity of Elements now, so we are rocking Determination, and in terms of dealing with freeze, we did go for Brine King to just avoid freeze and also reduce effective chill. Full ailment immunity is something I kind of wanted to consider, but Champion's kind of interesting because you can kind of just leave the adrenaline thing that removes ailments. Like that can effectively deal with ignites unless you're like, you know, everything on the map ignites all the time. And we also swapped over to an Amethyst Flask to deal with the chaos damage because Champion's really good at mitigating hits and I have negative chaos res. So that's, and so damage over time stuff like ignites and, you know, desecrated ground, burning ground were not fantastic. And although I will say the less damage taken on the Vaal Blade Flurry, that is whatchamacallit, that's just everything, less damage taken from everything. So you kind of get a weird situation where, of course, Vaal Blade Flurry is great for, you know, screen wide clear, but it's also good for whatchamacallit, defense. You know, has the defensive properties are not to be sneezed at. It's got a quick, I mean, honestly, I just kind of want to get a Xerpe's Heart just so I can get Soul Eater. And I do have a spot on the tree where we could definitely put an Inspired Learning right here. I think that's really the biggest thing that I'd want to look into just to make this build a bit more fun to play in a mapping context. I don't think it's actually going to end up a better bosser. If you're going to do Blade Flurry, just do the General's Cry version. That build is gorgeous for bossing. Basically, the only reason you do this build over that one, do it as a self-attack, is because you want to use Vaal Blade Flurry. Although I don't actually know how that works. You might be able to still use Vaal Blade Flurry yourself, even though it's linked with General's Cry. Oh, and we're also into Harbinger as well. Just any really dense... we started to block some other stuff that I'm not really interested in doing. But like loot dense stuff like this, it's like, ooh, it just feels so good. Oh, I shouldn't have done that. Should have waited. But it's up so quick. I mean, I really wanted to make more of a point of like showing when I'm doing Vaal Blade Flurry. Like right now we're do a full charge. It wasn't that good. And of course, as you can see, you know, we're kind of dipping down. But yeah, just that general mitigation really helps Champion feel good, even in pretty sticky situations like this. It's really the most dangerous thing is if we're standing on burning ground at this point, you know, because a lot of hits, we do have a decent amount of spells up now. What is this doing? This, you know, it's just, it's all coming together. It's the build feels solid enough. Let's get out of here and trade my friend real quick. Yeah, it's a little bit strange in terms of it just feels bad because we're just not going to be able to do the league mechanic with this, you know, unless we get to a point where we're like automatically phasing the guards at tier 16 or whatever, which we're not going to most likely, you know, either way. Let's just go over what we have in the tree right now. So first thing I wanted to mention is that we took out this because you can actually read it right there. This only affects melee strikes, including default attack, does not apply to area of effect. So while we were getting 30% increased damage, you know, the damage with sword hits and ailments was working, and the sword mastery was nice. Don't take this if you're doing an area of effect. We'll probably go into Fangs of Frost, actually, now that we're going to maybe convert fully to cold. And yeah, we went into damage against marked enemy, effective marked, and call against marked, as well as chance to gain a frenzy charge when you hit your marked enemy, much better than 8% chance to gain a frenzy charge when you hit a unique enemy, because this works on rares. So definitely go into this instead. for the mark. And as far as the sword mastery, we're pretty much only in Fatal Blade right now, just because you can take a little bit of a hit on crit multi and go into increased crit. Yeah, but I mean, more importantly, the big change was all the impale stuff here, and fizz damage here was dropped for stuff over here, namely Winter Spirit and fizz converted to cold. Picked up a little bit of crit, res, and ally damage with attacks here, and we're gonna get a little bit more move speed. I've been really lazy about the gear, to be honest. You know, we just got a tabby drop and pretty much just buying. The only things I bought were like things like Abyssus and Rebuke of the Vaal. Now that we moved off of just pure physical damage, we can just get a sword like this that just has a bunch of all sorts of damage types just for leveling. And I mean, we've done what did we do? Oh wow, I don't even have, should really favorite that. What was this? So this was tier 16. We killed a Shaper Guardian. We're going to kill an Elder Guardian. We're going to get our 2 Watchstones probably on stream today. But yeah, furthermore, the tree, I'm not really sure what else we're going to do with it. I'm probably just going to drop some stuff like Cloth and Chain, and then the Survivalist here. That's giving us just a little bit of resistances right now, as well as maybe this one, the Mastery at least, just to fill out a Cluster Jewel and get a little bit more damage. Honestly, we might even drop, like, I really don't want to drop the life here and Call to Arms and stuff, because Enduring Cry is actually really nice for, you know, just general recovery, because what'll happen is you're standing still, you're like, I'm attacking, you get a little bit of leech, but when you start to drop, you know, if you have your Molten Shell up, and then you notice your Adrenaline has also popped, which, like I said, we're mostly using this defensively. I know for some setups you can like have a like a life tab, blessing, whatever stuff, and drop yourself below low life so you boost yourself. For I don't want to keep it like that. That's just another button on the build. And as well as I kind of value it more defensively, just to have you know, remove all ailments, and then yeah, just kind of, it's better for mapping for my purposes right now. But yeah, we're gonna see if we can fill out a nice Cluster Jewel here. We did go into things like mana reservation, efficiency of stance kills. Basically, you're going to want to balance your mana so that you have enough mana for your mark, which is 66 mana right now. It's going to be somewhere in the 60s. You're going to want that. Not to mention that you also want to have enough so that you can fully charge up to 6. Just with a full mana pool. I kind of want to change Enduring Cry to life tap, but we're kind of starved on gem slots right now. So as you can see, with the amount of mana you'll have to cast your mark, or well, mark on hit with your mark, that's pretty much that's about what you want to aim for, as well as having 6 just in a vacuum. But I mean, you know, when you're leeching, I mean, this little leech node we're going to look to also replace with the Cluster Jewel. Tree's a little weird and stretched now because we are just running over here. It might actually be better to, once we're able to drop this, and maybe even the Onslaught effect as well, kind of just connect through this way, then we can get some like Ailment Avoid. But I don't know if actually we'll need to do that. And beyond that, we do have some crit we can get here. We are level, what, 91 right now, so we'll get a 3-4 more points, really tops. I don't see myself playing this to anywhere near 100. I don't usually do that. But yeah, in terms of gear, let's go over the skill gems right now, because right now the only ones that we're using that were the same was Pulverize. Just nice area of effect that really helps out the build feel well. And then the quick and dirty setup we have for almost full elemental conversion. See, we have like about 100 physical damage roll on the bottom there. Most of it is cold and lightning. We have fizz to lightning and trinity, as well as, like we went over, the fizz converted to cold on here. And then we have crit strikes and infused channeling. These will stay. I do think we're going to go for full cold conversion, either with Grim Sorrow or a rare gloves. That might be a little bit trickier to do, but that could be like a crafting project that might be fun, just because Shadows and Dust isn't really doing much for us at this point anyway. It's just a little bit of crit, which is nice, and Rampage with helps for clear. I don't mind it while, you know, we're just setting up the Atlas and leveling and stuff like that. But yeah, for a fully min-maxed endgame version, we're definitely going to need to, well, I mean, every gear slot would probably be, I don't know really what we're going to do about the sword, because, you know, a sword like this has just an insane DPS. Obviously, it's not all relevant DPS, it's kind of a mix of DPS, but we're not complaining, as it's helping us clear red maps and you know, kill like Shaper Guardians. But we really do want to push the build to be more consistent. It's got a pretty low crit chance, which is not great, and we are a crit build, although the crit with everything added up right now, 52%. I don't know, in POB with the mark, especially now that we have like increased mark effect and stuff like that, probably brings it up to about, I'd say 70, maybe 80%. When everything is all set up. Again, I'm not really a POB warrior. I don't know how to set everything up, and we still have a lot more improvements we can do. We can get, can't really use an elder chest unfortunately to get like plus crit on attacks, and like I said, I'm leveling cold penetration and inspiration. Yeah, because I imagine that will replace Fist to Lightning and Trinity there. If not, just because otherwise we might have to use like an armor ES chest, but we can't roll spells up on it. Just be better, easier to color with just 2 blues instead of 4. But for right now, you know, I was just practicing around with the tabula, seeing what's good. And yeah, we played, it was good enough to get them all to 20. So I guess it's all right. But further beyond that, I mean, we're going to stream a bit more. I am probably going to set up my second character by the end of this weekend. We'll probably just get the 2 Watchstones and a couple more favored map slots, and then retire this character till later, until we can maybe get some crafting projects done with it. That aren't just like, you know, scuffed league start whatever stuff here. Did get some form of like flask automation. Like I said, we dropped the granite flask, which is just 1500 armor. Now that we're running determination, we have 35k armor and hideout. Pretty huge molten shell. You want your molten shell to be about, I put it a little bit over half, so that when your adrenaline pops, you you know, you feel more comfortable just like standing still. Still a very high level molten shell, you know, level 18, pretty respectable. You can tweak this the way you want, but I keep it that way. Defiance, Banner, Blood and Sand, Precision. We're not using Herald of Purity anymore. You know, I'm still have some leftover gem links that I maybe need to adjust here to fit in some better stuff. Probably could get Enduring Cry on Lifetop. That probably would be better. And yeah, I think that's about it. Everything else is pretty much the same. We don't need Call on the Totems anymore because we have it where it matters on the marked enemy. And beyond that, let me know how your build's going, what you think I should like replace the weapon with. I'm thinking maybe a Paradoxica at this point might be better. I still am looking into the Savior maybe as like a chase item for this. I think that might actually really just help with Blade Flurry, just for usability, both in mapping and bossing, just to have 2 reflections running around. Doing, you know, max efficiency Blade Flurry blast on stuff. And yeah, thank you for watching, and stay tuned. I'll be streaming all this week. I think I'll probably try and knock this out within the next day or so, and then start leveling the other build, which will be a Death Oath Magic Finder, and that'll be a whole nother series of videos, if not just, you know, just the usual primer on Magic Find that I do almost every league. I think I skipped last league because last league, but yeah, thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next one.